It was the beginning of another school year. I expected it to be any other Tuesday morning. You know, I was going to go in. I was planning on acing this test that I had studied for. That morning, I heard a loud knocking on my door. And I was like, okay, and I thought that was my dad. And then I heard on my door.
All I heard when I was jolted from my sleep was, Aureli, that's how he calls me. And it was followed by the word immigration.
The sun's not out yet. I realized it must have been 5 in the morning.
I immediately saw men in jackets right in front of the door of my room.
Looked like some sort of police officer. Obviously, I was like, what's going on? And he was like, this is a demigration, you're going home. At that point, I was obviously speechless, but I wanted to tell him, you know, I am home. They began walking us out the door. I began crying hysterically. And at that point, all I could think of was, wow, I don't think I'm gonna see my house again. My parents were keeping calm. You know, all my mom was saying to me as we were being escorted out of our house was,
I love you, Dad loves you, God loves us, and He's with us. He's with us.
I obviously had a hard time believing that. From then on, I didn't know what was gonna happen. I thought they were gonna take us right to the airport, put us on a plane, and fly us out right there. That's when we were taken to the detention center. We were put in like just little waiting cells.
When I turned around, I knew somebody was following me, and he was following me so closely, and I said, oh my God, I've lost my freedom, you know.
They had me give up the belongings that I had on my person at the time and gave me the detention uniform. Each detention block was about the size of a high school gym, and there must have been around 40 or 45 cots inside each one. At that point, I didn't know how long we were going to be in there. I thought we were going to get out the same day, but as we waited, minutes turned into hours, hours turned into days, days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months.
This story of the Gulfish is actually emblematic of a broken immigration system. Here we have a couple who are graduates of a very prestigious university in the Philippines. The wife is a graduate of broadcast journalism. The husband is a graduate of the agricultural section of the University of the Philippines in Los Baños. And now they also have a daughter who has petitioned them. They have brothers and sisters who are all U.S. citizens. The father and mother of Mel here are U.S. citizens. And yet, you know, they do not appear to take all of these equities into consideration, and they simply follow the law to the letter and force a deportation regardless of the consequences.
I would argue that the Filipino-American community is probably the most invisible, the largest but the most invisible minority group in America. I mean, we're the third largest immigrant group, right? It's like Mexicans, Chinese, and then us, yet people don't know that. Representation is really important. And, you know, immigration is the key issue, particularly in this year of immigration reform. And more than ever, I think we need legal defense funds like FALDEF to make sure that the Filipino community is really represented.
Obviously, we have a lot of problems in the immigration field. So when FALDEF was created by J.T. Malonga and other lawyers of similar intention, I was so glad and immediately supported them because, you know, it would help a lot of Filipinos who cannot afford the expenses of a lawyer or a law firm, and at the same time, they can be very active in promoting policies that will relieve problems of Filipinos and Filipino Americans in the United States.
Years of frustration, years of feeling helpless, and by God, around 08, 09, a bunch of us got together and we said, let's do this.
FALDEF was set up primarily to provide pro bono or free legal services to victims of legal injustice.
It's not about taking away something from others, but it's about sharing. It's about protecting their rights so that it will enable them to contribute more to the society as a whole.
What I understand is we are the first case that to be worked on FALDEF. In 2007, the news broke out that a physician from Salinas Grove, Pennsylvania, is about to be deported. Because of that, the community rallied behind us, considering that I work like holding about 3,000 to 4,000 patients on my patient load. So it's not only for my interest, but also for the interest of the community. We have retained 7 to 8 lawyers before FALDEF. Most of them, the last few lawyers already decline our case. And some lawyers will say they are the last chance lawyers.
The case at that time seemed so hopeless and helpless. And it was brought to the attention of Attorney Malonga. We were a burgeoning group then. We got hold of ourselves and studied the case and found out that there is a case. At the end of the story, through the leadership of FALDEF, the Serbanos were granted leave and deferment of their deportation.
It's really a test case of how good FALDEF is. And so it's really very important for us Filipinos, especially, that we should have to support FALDEF.
In a way, my family is like the poster family of what's totally broken with the immigration system, because we wanted to be legal and we wanted to be an American citizen, and yet it didn't happen. When we were here 20 years, we spent like thousands of dollars on lawyers' fees, hoping that we would get American Dream, but my brothers ended up being detained for 29 days, and then my parents were deported. The Filipino American Legal Defense Fund, they're a group of lawyers who actually give services for free. I mean, that for me was just like mind-boggling, because for me, every time I hear a lawyer, it seems like it's with a handshake, you have to give them $10,000. And after I met the president, JT Malonga, and we agreed on having this Know Your Rights Forum seminar together, I realized that if I help in a little bit, whatever thing that I could do, other families won't have to go through what my family went through. They really do a good job. I remember our first DACA event, our first Path for Dreams program. I was so emotional because I didn't realize there were other families who were in the same situation that we were. And they were still afraid of being deported, or they're still waiting, maybe there's hope. And I told them, unfortunately for my brothers and for my parents who were sent back home and they'd have 10 years or 20 years before they could come back, at least with FALDEF, they could approach a lawyer who would tell them exactly where they stand. Don't give them false hope. They don't have to give them a penny. And at least, there's an honest organization that could help. I really wish that FALDEF existed when we were going through the process of getting legal help, because life would have been different. My family would be here. The nieces and the nephews and the cousins, they will all grow together, and my parents would be next to me, as opposed to being like thousands of miles away in the Philippines.
FALDEF is a gift from God to us as far as we're concerned.
I just remember being called to a visitation. So they called my name. Actually, they didn't even call my name. They gave us numbers. So, my number was, I was number 26. I just remember walking into that room and seeing a man there, seeing a man in a suit, and he was a lawyer. The first thoughts that were going through my head was, oh, thank God we have a lawyer. Someone's gonna fight for us. The impression that I got from what I saw was, wow, this guy looks like he means business. This guy looks like he's not gonna go down without a fight. He looks like he's gonna go down swinging.
FALDEF did everything they could to file motions after motions for us, contact other people to support our case, even politicians. And because of that, we're still here.
If there's anyone who's watching this who feel like they're in my situation, who feel scared, who feel like they have no one to turn to, remember there's FALDEF, and there are people who would love to help.